Hello my lovely Flosstube friends. Even I thought I was on a hiatus of sorts. But I'm here and I'm back. So welcome back to all those lovely subscribers. If you're new to the channel or you would like to follow me on social media, then feel free. What can I say, people? This is going to be probably one of the strangest Flosstube update videos I've ever done. It's going to be such a mixed bag. I warn you. So a warning has been put out. Mixed bag video. There's going to be a bit of everything. There's going to be a bit of what have I done. There's going to be a bit of more like what haven't I done. There's a whole bit of rather large rabbit hole, which I will put at the end of the video. There'll be a little bit of general, a little bit of life update, and there will be a cry for help. Because as you know, this beautiful community always pulls together when someone has a dilemma. And wow, do I have a dilemma to share with you all. Let's just say lessons have been learned, people. So grab yourself a beverage of your choice and grab your stitching. Sit back, relax. Come join me for this rather wild and strange Flosstube update for the month. So let's get started. So because there's rather a lot to talk about, which necessarily isn't going to be showing you all the stitching and the fun stuff that we love to do on our Flosstube updates, I'm going to put all of the whip type stuff first for those of you that are just really only interested in the cross stitch side. And everything else I'll sort of either talk about along the way or put towards the end of the video. So for those that are not interested, then, you know, I'm not going to submit you to the sagas of my life. So let's start with what have I done on the stitching side of things. And I forewarn, it's rather minimal. But I say it's minimal, but there are some rather good highs and some rather low lows. So let's start on the high, because why not? Let's start big and we'll go downwards. So I have a FFO'd object. So not only did I manage to finish some stitching, but I also managed to find a bit of time to do some FFOing. So the project in question is my lovely Autumn by Cricket Collection, which I showed you on my last update. And here it is, all fully finished and FFO'd with a whole lot of help from Vonna the Twisted Stitcher. Because who doesn't go to her channel and look at her tutorials when we come to doing some finishing, unless of course you're a total pro, which we all know I'm not. So I absolutely loved how this has turned out. So there's the stitching. And what to tell you, I decided that I was going to finish it the same as the spring. So I'd done the spring one. If I've got a picture, I'll put it in so that I can remind you. And at the time, I wasn't overly happy with it, but I thought it would do. But now I've done this one, I'm actually like, no, that really didn't do. So it's all it's done is made me think I'm going to have to get the spring one and see if I can take it apart and adapt it so that it's a bit more like this one. Because, yeah, this is how it was supposed to have looked for the spring one. So what did I do? I used the flat fold tutorial that Vonna does. So because I wanted it to look all puffy, I used the wadding on the back paneling as well as behind the stitching, and I love the thickness. The thickness just makes it look so much more professional, which I didn't do on spring. So because we're in lockdown and because you can't go to the shops, I was like, how am I going to finish this? Because although I love the autumn, you know that I'm not really a Halloweeny person. And I've never really stitched Halloween. So I was like, I was more about the autumn side of this than I was about the Halloween. But I quite liked, and the more I look at it, I absolutely love some of the little Halloween details, like the tiny little weeny spider. I don't even like spiders. Oh, I tell you now, I don't like spiders. And I love my little pumpkin as well. So yeah, so I wanted to finish it so that it was more autumny rather than Halloweeny. So at first when I was thinking maybe the matte boarding with the fabric around the outside should be like an orangey colour, I thought that would look a bit too Halloweeny. So I decided that I would go with sort of more of this, like, I don't know what you call that. Is that like a burgundy? It's like a burgundy red with a dark burgundy, almost black fleck in it. I don't know if you can see that. So I decided that I would take the letter A and the letter M and sort of try and find a colour to sort of pick out that. So that was how I did that. The cording, let's get you close. The cording I made using Varna's How to Make Cording out of DMC thread. That was a deal breaker. So much fun. And I'll put the links to Varna's videos up there so that anyone that wants to go find them, you can. So yeah, so I basically followed her instructions to do the actual finishing of the piece itself. And then, because I went out, I went to a couple of the shops that you could go to see if I could find some finishing objects. But because it's Christmas now, there's not really any what I call autumnal themes. So I literally had to go with some Christmassy berries. These I already had in the flowers that I used on spring anyway, so I've just basically borrowed them from the other flower display. And then I found these really, really cute little birdies. Little robins. Where's the other robin? There he is, up there. And put those on. And you know when you're like, yay, I did that. I was so impressed with myself. I have to say, I did a little happy dance myself for that one. Absolutely love stitching this one, which was, again, bizarre. I was like, I didn't think that would happen. But yeah, absolutely stoked. Now, I do actually have this hanging up in my house. Now, a lot of people have turned around and said, but it's not autumn, Teresa. Mistake me if I'm wrong, but here in the UK, it is still actually autumn. If you follow a gardener's rule, we are still in autumn, and winter doesn't start, don't hold me to this, but winter doesn't start until I think around the 20th or the 21st of December. So at that point it becomes winter. So December to March is winter for us. So as far as I'm concerned, I can still have this hanging up, even though I've got my Christmas decorations up. So so this is hanging up normally in here or in the hallway, depending on what mood is taking me. But I took it down just so that I could show you that I have an FFO, and I am super happy. So what did I change on the chart? I think I did make some adaptations and some changes to some of the threads. So the only changes that I made was my little cat here. What did we use? I did write this down, hold on. So the changes that I made to the stitching on this piece was the pumpkin's hat. So I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but it's actually sparkling and shiny. So that was originally supposed to be DMC 310 black. I changed that to, I think I stitched the black first, but then I went over it with a single strand of the Petite Treasure Braid PB05, which is like a black sparkly, just because I wanted a bit of bling. So I did that. The cat, the little cat, that was supposed to have been just a straight flat DMC 310 again. I changed that to a whisper thread, which is W99, which is basically a whisper in black. And the only other change, oh, there was two other changes. So the other change, one was a change and one was an error. So one is the little owl at the top here, of which I've just noticed that I forgot to put his eyes on. So I'm going to have to see if I can find two black beads and put some little black beads on there, even though it's already finished. If not, I'll leave it because I like it the way it is. So the little owl, I changed out. What did we change out? So the owl I changed out to a whisper thread again, and that was W123. And finally, the error on here, which none of you would have known if I hadn't have pointed it out, but I will point it out just for the sake of anyone that's thinking of stitching it. And that is that the end should have been a different colour green. I can't remember what colour green it was. But it was supposed to have been just a slightly more olivey coloured green, I think. And I picked up the wrong thread. I'd already started most of the N before I realised it was the wrong colour and was like, I don't care. I'll have it matching the U. I'm fine with that. So yeah. So there we go. One FFO finally finished. So it's something else to hang up in the house, which is fabulous. Considering the sort of couple of months that I've had, yeah, that put me back to where I needed to be. It has been a rather unusual couple of months, as you all know. So stitching wise, what else did I stitch on? So because it's coming up for Christmassy, and we had the discussion on one of the previous videos about the Frosty Forest. So this is Frosty Forest. Sorry, I've got my notes here because I'm trying to stay on track. Well, that was the plan anyway. So Frosty Forest, when did we start Frosty Forest? This is like one of those projects that's just gone on forever, isn't it? Because we all know that I wasn't a great lover of it. So I started Frosty Forest on the 26th of October 2017, would you believe it? And this is the one that was supposed to have been, I think, 9 or 12 blocks. And we've established that it's not for me. I don't overly like it. So I'm just going to do 4 squares. And with a lot of help from the lovely Flosstube community, we agreed that I would do 1 more square and I would call it a day. And yeah, I haven't finished it still. So where I've got pictures of where you last saw it, I will put those in now. This one, I already had this bit stitched. Let me see what you can see. We agreed by the time I got to this little house here that I was going to finish this house and then do the next block and then call it a day and make it into like either a little wall hanging or a pillow. I thought that all I had to do was do the new block and it was done. But what I didn't realise was I hadn't actually finished the block that I was on. And it's still not finished. So this is how much I really don't like stitching on this. And I really don't know why, because it's just cute. And it is cute. Please ignore the fingernails, people. I had my procedure done on my hip on Monday. And obviously part of that is that you have to have all your nail polish took off. And we're in lockdown too. So, and we're supposed to come back out of lockdown, I think, on Tuesday next week. So I'm like, you know what? I really fancy going to the nail place and getting them to pamper my nails and do my toenails. So I'm like, there's no point in me doing my nails. So I'm sorry. I apologise in advance for the horrid nails, especially the fact that I have actually been out in the garden as well. So if there's a little bit of dirt under there, then I'm sorry. Sorry, diverse. See what I mean? I told you this was going to be mixed bag. So what have I done? Not a lot, really. So the only part that I have actually completed is I did the little gate fence thing. That's it. That's all I did. And there's still more snow to go there. What else is there? The chimney still needs to go on. And the snowflakes still need to go on. And yeah, I still haven't finished that. And I know that I just need to sit and do it one evening. Just, you know, do a bit. But this, to be honest, in my own defence, I will defend myself with this one. This is one of the ones that I would normally do on my little mini stand. Here she is, look, she's even sitting in waiting. This is the one that I would normally have set up on my little Belka Patoki mini stand in the study, so that if I'm on a call and I don't need to do notes, or it's more of a listening call rather than a doing something call, or I'm on lunch, this is the project, or these are the little projects that I would normally have on that and I would be stitching, but things have just been so crazy with work. There hasn't been any calls where I could sit and stitch. It's all been work, work, work. So I have been super busy. So in my defence, I haven't had a chance to do any stitching through the days that I've been working, or lunch times, because I haven't even really been taking lunch. And as you know, with the whole Darren situation and the breaking of the leg and, you know, being his carer, it's official. I'm a terrible carer. Hats off. I will say this now. Hats off to anyone that is either a carer for a living, or more specifically a carer of a relative or a family member or a spouse, as well as trying to hold down a job, as well as trying to run the house, as well as try and like look after the dog and the you know, your mum and your, yeah, it's not for me. I don't have the patience, the inclination, or the, yeah, maybe I'm just not organised enough, but it just was, it has been a hair-raising couple of months, let's just say. So, needless to say, back to stitching, she says, off the ramble. I still need to finish this block, and then I think we agreed, I think a lot of people gave me ideas of what block they thought I should stitch. I think I'm going to go, I think the majority vote was I think some little foxes. Was it little foxes? I think it was little foxes. So if I've got a picture, I might put them in. If you have a preference, I might put them in like 1, 2, 3, 4 down the side here of the ones that I think it should be, and then you can say which one. Because right now, the only thing I don't want to do is stitch another house, because, yeah, I don't want another house. And ideally, one with as little white snow as possible, because I really don't like stitching white on this fabric. So just so that you know, this is stitched on a 32 count Belfast linen by Zweigart in the colourway Pearl Grey. Yeah, yeah, it's just not for me. I like the colour of the fabric, actually. Just, I don't know. I don't think I like the linen very much, and I find it a bit floppy and flimsy, which I don't think helps. And yeah, there's not much more I can say about that one. But it's going back in the bag. It will come out, and I will have to finish it, but likelihoods of getting that finished this year, very unlikely. Even I will agree to that, but I think we already knew that. So there was that. What else have I stitched on? So the most, I haven't been telling you how often I've stitched on them. So the autumn FFO between October and November got 7 days worth of stitching plus the day for finishing, which I didn't think was too bad given the sort of couple of months that I've had. Frosty Forest, I've put a day down, literally that was the gate, that's all I did, and I think I did that in about, I don't know, half an hour-ish, if that, and that's all it got. So I'm saying it's got a day's worth of stitching. That wasn't a day of stitching, that was just like a token gesture, but we're cool with that. So next up is the lovely Autumn Promise by losing the will to speak, by Judy Dixon. I'm not sure when I last stitched on this, if I'm honest, but where I've got pictures I should be showing you that now. I thought I had a front page, yes I do. So this is what it will look like when it's completed. And the last time I saw you, I'd done most of the bands. I think I was just starting to work on the outside border, and I still had these, I think there was 3 of the bottom row that still needed completing. I think that was where I got to. So this is where we have got to. Now this has only just recently come out because, yeah, just because there was no time. And this is where we are at. Let me put it on a board so you can see. So I've completed these bottom ones, and and I finished the border around the outside edge. Sorry about the light. I'm in the study today just because there's a mess in the kitchen and I haven't got time or inclination to go tidy it. So yeah, so we finished all of the blocks as far as the stitching side of it. And I've done the outside section, the outside border. So now I am working on like the drawn thread side of it and the hard hanger side. So at the top there, let's see if I can bring it in nice and close for you. So I've done the bar wrapping on these, which is just straightforward wrapping, and I'm slowly working my way down. Where there's ones that look like they've just got white patches in the middle, they still need to be cut. So I did some of the cut work along the way, like so for the decorative bands, but where you've got squares that have got white centres, they're the ones that still need to be cut. Yeah, so do you know what I've just realised? I'm sitting here showing this to you. This is the back. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Do you like the back of my work? Did you sit there going, how ratty is her stitching? You could have told me. I'm sitting here going, oh yeah, I've done this, I've done that. You're looking at the back. Okay, let's do this the right way round. So here is the front of Autumn Promise. Okay, shall we try this again? So let me give you a little look at the actual stitching now, rather than the back of my stitching. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. That, yeah, I can't believe I just did that. Breathe, Teresa, breathe. Like I said, mixed bag video. You have so got mixed bag. Right, okay, so again, let's try this again. So here's the wrapped bars. Like I say, these still need cut work. This bar I think is completed. Yep. This bar is completed, this bar's completed. This still needs cut work and some more sort of different wrapping. And again, down here, I did the satin stitches, finished these stitches. This needs cut work, and then obviously I think there's some wrapping that goes on in there. And then on top of all of that, there's still beading to be done. So I say it's close, and it is close, but it's sort of not close, if you know what I mean. Purely because I didn't really want to go too much into the whole general stuff, but with Darren breaking his leg and having him here constantly without a moment's peace, I have really struggled to be able to focus on stitching anything, because I don't know, I've come to the conclusion I don't think I'm set in my ways, but I must be, because I cannot stitch when someone's talking to me, or I tend to find I have to have it peaceful and quiet. It's my time, it's me time. No disruptions, no background noise apart from whatever I choose, such as Flosstube or a nice old-fashioned movie. Yeah. Having him sort of, you know, asking me questions whilst I'm in the middle of something, I just seem to either go wrong or I just don't feel the love for it, because I'm just like, I can't concentrate, and then that just frustrates me. So I'm just like, will you stop talking? So yeah. So projects like this, which actually require a bit of brain power and a little bit of thought, you know, and you know the whole saying, like, read again and read again. Yeah. So this is one of those projects that I need to be in. I need to be in my happy place to do anything other than just the stitching on this. So hence I've got to this point, and although I keep trying to get to it, it's just not been happening, because we are here in the UK, we are in lockdown 2, of which is supposed to be lifting, I think it's on Tuesday. and we are in tier 2, so we're quite lucky. So here in the UK they're doing it in a 3-tier system, so we've got a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is the most relaxed, tier 2 is somewhere in the middle, which is really quite flexible. Tier 3 is still pretty locked down, I'll be honest. So for those of you in the UK that are in tier 3, fingers crossed, people, that as they said, they're going to review it every 2 weeks. So there's a possibility that after another 2 weeks you might go into a tier 2 if you're lucky. Or for those that have more cases, you could go into a tier 3. The only upside that the UK have agreed to is that for Christmas they are allowing, I think from the 24th until the 26th of December, for families to mix, 3 families to mix for Christmas Day and Christmas celebrations. So that is one good thing, but I really don't know how that works with the whole, well, if you live, because at the moment what they're saying is if you live in tier 2 and you travel to tier 2, that's fine, but if you live in tier 3 you shouldn't be traveling into a tier 2. So if you're in tier 3 and then Christmas comes, does that mean you're not allowed to go and travel into a tier 2? Just, I don't know, maybe Christmas is, so that they're just making it Christmas is different, who knows. But all I do know is with everything that's been going on and with the whole lockdown situation, Darren, although went back to work last week, he's not going to the gym, he's not getting off out racing. So again, other than him being at work, he's here. Need I say any more? Roll on, gym's opening, and yeah, because I won't see him for dusting, and then yeah, then I'll have some me time, I think. So although his leg is better, he's only just gone back to work, and I say it's better, he's still a bit hobbly on it, but yeah, he's keen to get off out because he just can be a bit annoying when he's at home, especially after so long. So that is Autumn Promise. So finally on the stitching, when I said there was very little stitching, I really meant very little stitching, people. Very little stitching. So next up is Alternative Reality. So I'll put a picture here of what it should look like and a picture of when you last saw it. Now this is where the lessons learned and dilemma come into the equation. So there is a story that goes with this. Now this is, I don't even know how to explain this or to describe it, but if you can imagine, if I was showing you this video a week ago or less than a week ago, I'd say 4 days ago, I'd be like, oh, so happy, oh, yeah. But because it's 4 days later, it's, yes, I'm happy, but oh no, I'm so not happy. Let me explain. So the dilemma came along. So I was up very early one morning, scrolling through my phone, got my coffee, came into the office, sitting in front of the computers, thought I'll have a little check of the emails. And there was an email from Heaven and Earth Design saying that they were doing, I think it was the Thanksgiving sale. Not sale, yeah, it is a sale. So they were doing discounts. I thought I'd have a little look. I have to be honest, I don't need any more Hades. I have enough going on with my Hades, but I thought I'd go and have a little look. So as I was scrolling through, Alternative Reality actually flagged up, and I have no idea what made me look, but when I was looking at it, it said something on there about 16 inches. And I, at the time, had been working on Alternative Reality the night before. So I'm sitting there thinking, 16 inches? I was like, no, that can't be right. So, okay, so I was like, So I've done nothing more than go out to her because she was, you know, she was all on the scroll bars and on my stand. And I had a little look. So I'm holding her up. So I was like, not sure about that. So, kiss. I've had a look again at what it said on the website, and I was like, it must be a different size project. So then I've gone to my handy dandy front page to check myself, and lo and behold, it says width 16 inches, height, oh hold on, 11 7/8. Do you know what? Please don't tell me that this is going to go broadcasting across Flosstube. The error that I thought I've made, and I've gone down this whole rabbit hole of, oh no, this is like the worst moment of your life. Lessons learned, dilemma, do something. I think I've just sorted out my own answer or problem to the problem. Let me just grab my handy dandy tape measure. So it says that it is 16 inches wide. 11 7/8. Ah, dear. And don't you just hate these moments? Right. My cry for help and dilemma is no longer required because I am obviously a woman of a certain age and am not reading things properly or taking on board anything. So let me explain what has just happened and the relief that's just flooding over me as we speak. So when I was looking at it, I had this real awful stomach, gut-wrenching feeling that I had messed up big time and that I had actually started stitching my alternative reality on the fabric the wrong way round. Because the fabric is really quite tight. There's very little room for margins on this piece. So when it said 16 inches and I was looking at my piece of stitching and I'm like, there is no way that by the time I get the rest of her dress on that I've got 16 inches worth of space on this fabric. And I had this awful, awful feeling that I'd totally messed it up and orientated the fabric the wrong way round. Now bearing in mind that we started this project, when did we start this project? It started on the 1st of January 2016. So that's like 4 years worth of stitching. And I was like, please don't tell me I've done 4 years worth of stitching only to find that she's not going to fit. Because my theory on it, I mean, honestly, this is embarrassing. So Kate at Lakeside Needlecrafts, I've just ordered fabric I didn't actually need, but thank you so much. And thank you so much for getting back to me so quickly on my email when I was like, oh no! So let me explain. So when I thought for one moment that I had orientated it incorrectly and I'd done my measurements, if it had needed to be 16 inches long, the fabric was too short. So I only had 3 options that sprung to mind. One was give up and just stop, which obviously for me after 4 years worth of stitching was not an option. My next option that I thought of was maybe there was a way to finish the chart short and miss a bit of a skirt and the bottom of the charting off. But then I was like, but then I lose all of that detail. And I like all the ruffles at the bottom. So I was like, well, that's not an option for me. I don't want that option. So my only next option was, is there a way to add some fabric to the bottom of this bit of fabric to carry on stitching? And you know what? I Googled, I YouTubed. That's what I mean. I've actually researched all this and ordered more fabric from the lovely Kate at Lakeside Needlecrafts. And there was only one bit of information that came up that said what you can try to do is use some Pelham. So you know the sort of fabric adhesive sort of interfacing. You can use an inch of that, if you like, along one section and then attach it to the other section and then put a piece over the top so that you sort of sandwich the even weave or the Ada in between the 2 layers of Pelham and then poke holes through it, and you can try to do it that way. But I wasn't quite sure, because that's the only way that you could do it without having a bump or a ridge where you've had to overlay the fabrics together. I'm sitting here telling you all this and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter because it doesn't look to be a problem. Although, I'll be honest, I'm going to be lucky if there's about 2 inches of room round the outside. But now you understand. What sort of a video is this going to look like? Oh, the relief, people, the relief. So I don't need to tell you about a dilemma or lessons learned, because the lesson learned is Teresa is of a certain age and is failing to read things correctly and, yeah, check and recheck and double check. But my heart was in my mouth. I honestly thought that I had orientated my stitching incorrectly on the fabric and that it was too short. So, let's get back to the wonderful project, because I'm now elated that she is going to fit and she's beautiful. And I've done lots of stitching on her. So, last time you saw her, she sort of had a partial head. And now she has a face. Look at the face. I'm so happy. You have no idea how happy that's just made me. And the fact that I've only just realised that what I thought was a problem is actually not a problem, whilst recording this video is, yeah, it gives you a bit of insight into how my life has been for the last two months. It has been this roller coaster of, yay! Oh dear God, no. Yay! So here she is. Oh, and as you can see, so you know that I normally stagger my blocks. I do like block staggering. And because I was just so excited about getting her face done, I done away with my block stitching just so that I could get the face in, because I was being so impatient. But you can see there, I'm starting to go back to my staggering. So I'll start now doing the blocks across to bring it down. But it was just that I just wanted to see some face. But she is so beautiful. And now that I know that there is no problem, then now she's even more beautiful than she was about 15 minutes ago. She is back to being as beautiful as she was 4 days ago. In fact, I'm not even sure it was 4 days ago. It might have only been a couple of days ago. But all I know was, yeah, I nearly cried. I was like, oh no. 4 years of stitching and waiting to see her face. And then I see her face only to think for one moment that there's a likelihood that she won't fit. Yeah. She fits, people. Oh dear. Do you know what? For a moment there, I was thinking about cutting this bit out of the video and just cut out the whole dilemma bit, but I can't because I'd already said it at the beginning and I really don't want to be doing too much editing in this video. And the fact that you now know where my mindset is and, you know, how hard I'm struggling with obviously normal everyday things to make these silly mistakes, there's no way I want to try and cut and shut this video too much either. So you're going to have this as it comes. Mixed bag, warts and all. But I am very relieved. It's like one of the most relieving moments of your life that just happened, because I was like, and there was me sitting there going, lessons learned, people, you know. Check your fabric. Check your orientation of your fabric. Once you've cut it, make sure that you're stitching it the right way around. That still holds, people, because I am sure there are people out there that have done that and have had to go through that moment of realisation after spending years of stitching on something that it's not going to fit on the fabric. I'm pleased to say that in this very moment, all of that bad energy that I had about this project that had just appeared after 4 years of stitching on it have just dissolved. I feel like I need, I don't know, a celebratory drink or at least a nice cup of tea right now. So that is it as far as the stitching is concerned. So for all of those people that just were here for the stitching and absolutely nothing else, the only next bit that I was going to talk about is a new start. I need your help with the new start options. So you know that the FFO is the hanging up heart. And like I've said, winter for us doesn't officially start until December the 20th or 21st. So, you know, when you're sort of sitting there thinking, what do I do when we get there? Because I'll have to take autumn down or put it in a room where no one's really going to see it because it's not autumn. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what I do happen to have, the winter version. Here it is. The Cricut Collection winter version. But I've also got the Cricut Collection summer version. So what to do? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I done autumn between... When did we start and finish it? I did say I know, but I've got a brain the size of a fish, it appears. So I started it on the 7th of September and finished it on the 19th of November. So the question is, would I be able to stitch this fast enough to get it done and do some sort of FFOing to have it up for winter? But winter goes through till March. So I could do that. However, maybe summer's not even an option because it's not summer yet. And there's a lot of white in that summer. I've got to be honest, I was a bit shocked by how much white is in there. I might be subbing some of those colours out and make them another colour. I don't know. I'm feeling that I might need to adapt that. Because, I don't know, Frosty Forest has sort of put me off stitching too much white. Purely because it's just white. So the other thing that I've got, that I was thinking about as well, is if I didn't do this winter, the Cricut Collection winter, I do have the Winter ABCs by Little House Needleworks. This one. Which does actually look to be smaller and would probably stitch up faster than this one. But I couldn't finish it the same. But I do have an idea, which I think I got from somebody else's video. I saw something where they done something similar with like a tall cabinet, and I was thinking I could finish it on a tall cabinet and have the, because I've got the set of these. I've got the winter, autumn, spring, and summer of the Little House Needleworks ABCs, and I think I've got the Needleworker one. So I could do this one. Or I could do this one. What do you think? Give me your thoughts. Cricut Collection, Little House Needleworks. Because I can't decide. But I do actually like these little ABCs, the long ones. What one's that? That one's summer. Sorry about the shiny glare. And that one's the spring. I think the only one that I don't have of that is the autumn one. I might have the autumn one, but I didn't pull it out because there was no point, because I've just finished an autumn one. I'm not going to do another autumn one. So yeah. So I don't know. I'm thinking winter, and I'm thinking one of those two. But any help you can give me, you've seen how my brain is working, or let's say not working currently, so therefore any type of decision making is just a no-go at the moment, because I can't even cope with the simplest of things, it appears. Maybe it's my age, maybe I've got to that, maybe I'm sitting there thinking that all this is because Darren's around, and you know, with the whole change of, you know, working from home constantly and the lockdowns and yeah, just everything that's coming at me. But then the more I'm thinking about it, the silly things that I'm doing and the mistakes that I'm making, I'm like, is this that, you know, that thing, that menopause thing, where you just get this brain fog where either you don't think straight, or you don't read straight, or you don't do anything straight? I have no idea. I feel like I'm in my own little world. But what I do have, and this is the reason that I really need to decide on which one of these projects I'm going to start, is have some goodies. It's the only goodies that I've had in a couple of months. So, you know, when you're like, yay! It just went that way. It just went that way. This video is... I did say this would be a mixed bag video. This wasn't quite what I meant when I said that. Let me go retrieve. Okay. This is not going very well, is it? Okay, so something new and fun. The lovely Ladybird Stitcher from here in the UK has a Facebook and Etsy store for some floss storage floss folders. She also does vinyl front bags, but I have one of the floss storage floss folder things here. And it was, oh, the fabric. Oh, the fabric, people. Let me just show you. But not only did I get that, but she sent me some other bits with it. So I've got a little beanie bag, which you stand your iPhone or your iPad on. So, as example, like so. So if you're following your chart or you're reading something, or you got your iPad, the little beanie bag holds it up, like so. Which I thought was fabulous. It's a great little gadget. And you can just stick it on there. And that way it's all... But look at the fabric. Look at my peacock fabric. It's gorgeous. And then that's the peacock feathers, like the matching coordinating fabric that goes with it. How cute is that? But I love the little beanie bag. At first I was like, what is that? You know, when you're like looking at something, I'm like, I don't actually know what it is. But then all becomes clear, people, when you have your beanie bag, iPhone or iPad or tablet holder to stand it on so that you can read your chart whilst you're... As you know, I'm very digital. I do love a bit of digital charting because there's always a problem or an error. So I got that. She also sent me a little project bag. Again, in these beautiful coordinating fabrics. All lovely, well quilted. With a little tag, handmade by Ladybird with love, with a coordinating inside. And inside, this I really like this idea, which I've not had in any of my project bags, is that not only have you got sort of your standard inner, but there's like a netting section inside with Velcro, so that I can put, like, I don't know, my floss is in one side and my chart and my fabric in the other, because yeah, so it's got like a mesh center, see, which I thought was fabulous and great. So I have the matching bag, and it's not too big but it's not too small either. It's like a perfect size. But the piece de resistance, people, look, I did sort of unfold it a little bit, but it was just like, it was so well wrapped. You know when you like, you don't want to sort of disturb everything that's in the box because everything was all sort of like well laid out and all folded and wrapped lovely. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm ready for Christmas already. So here is the floss folder. Look at that. Again, all in the... Oh, I just love the fabric. You know when you just sort of sit and look at the fabric. Lovely little peacocks. So, and what I like about this is for the smaller projects, I like, well, I say they're not even small projects, because what this holds is actually, it can hold bigger projects. Maybe not a full coverage piece, but not far off. So, what comes in the floss folder? So, you undo the button and it opens up into this. How glorious is that? So it's got 2 lots of these thread card holders so that you can attach all your threads so that they're all inside the little folder. It comes with like a little tiny project. Oh, look at that. That's just too cute. So for like your needles and your, I don't know, your scissors and it's got a little pull tag on it. Again, everything is all colour coordinated. A little Oct catcher. And then inside here, it's the pockets that are like the deal breaker. So let me show you what I mean. So you've got, she says, if she puts it the right way up, it does help. So you've got a mesh bag at the very front here, so that you can slip, I don't know, your scissors or your bits and pieces in there. Behind that is another pocket, so a bigger pocket to go there. You've got all of your thread holders, of which there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, 18. So that will hold 40 thread colours, because there's 2 of them. And then over on this side, again, you've got one pocket at the back here for like your chart. And then another open pocket at the front here, again with the vinyl so that you can see through. So it is great. And absolutely great for those projects where you just want to have your threads, your bits and pieces, your little chart. Fold it all up. Literally, fold it up. And it's like, well, handbag size. It's smaller than handbag size. I mean, I've got an iPhone Pro X. Look at the size of that. And it'll all just fit in there. So that's super easy to just sort of, I don't know, chuck in the car or have down by the side of me, or even here in the office. You know what it's like. It's like you haven't got space to be having massive, great big project bags with everything in and you've got to go rummaging. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Especially as and when we eventually come out of this lockdown and we go back to some sort of normality and that possibility, just that little glimmer of hope that we might get away on some stitching retreats at some point next year. With this and this, I'd be sorted. Look. I mean, literally, they're both the same size. Admittedly, this is just marginally bigger. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And this, whatever one of those projects we decide that I'm going to be stitching next is going to be used in here. Because it's perfect. I absolutely love these. I love the colours. I love how well made they are. And they're just going to be so practical. And you know how much I love a bit of practicality. This is a little deal breaker, the little beanie bag. If you are interested in having a little look at what she's got available, then I will put a link to Handmade by Ladybird Stitcher Facebook group and also on a Etsy. So if you wanted to head off over and have a little look at what she's got or what she can do for you, I will put that in for anyone that is interested. But I absolutely love them. So, oh, yeah. I'm going to have some fun with my new project, which you're all going to help me pick. So, yeah. There's a nice end to the stitching section of the video. So, for those of you that are only interested in my stitching, then feel free to leave now. Because the next bit is a little bit of rather large rabbit hole that I fell down, as well as a little bit of life update and health. So thank you for those. For those of you that are staying for the long haul and that love to listen to me waffle, of which you all will listen to me waffle, I have to say a huge thank you to everyone that has reached out to me, because over the last 2 weeks-ish, I've started to get lots of messages saying, Teresa, we miss you. Teresa, is everything okay? Teresa, are you still alive? So it's very heartwarming to know that I am missed, and that if I disappear and that, you know, you sort of think, well, no one's really going to know whether I've uploaded. They won't really notice unless it's like months and months and months. And you did notice. So huge thank you. And thank you so much for reaching out and making sure that I was okay. It did actually make me think, Teresa, you need to get your act together. If nothing else, just to go on there and go, boo, hello, I am still here. Thank you for making sure I'm okay. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for everyone, for all of those lovely little pokes and messages on Facebook and Messenger and YouTube, just to check that I'm okay. On the health side, so on Monday, I haven't even told you what day it is. Today is Saturday the 28th of November. On Monday, I went in and had my injections in my hip, so the cortisone and local anaesthetic. It was a little bit sore for the first couple of days. Wednesday it was still a little bit niggly, but I have to say it doesn't actually feel too bad at all now. So, and like I know, they've already said it's not a fix. It won't fix it. It's not going to cure my problem. There is only one surgery that will do that, and that is the full hip replacement. But he said, if we can bide you some time, let's give it a go. So that's what we've done. So I'm happy with how that's going. It's definitely a lot more comfortable than it was. And it has been a marked improvement. However, he has warned me, there is sort of like an initial, yes, it will feel fabulous, but how long that it will do that for, they're not sure. Could only be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months. It might be 6 months. So it's like, how long is a bit of string? So, but we will face that as and when the time comes and when I need to face it. So, but a huge thank you to everyone who's reached out to make sure that I'm okay. And I am. So thank you so much. What else to tell you? A lot of people have been asking about Mummy. So yeah, Mummy's doing okay, actually. Obviously, in the first lockdown, she shielded. Then when they lifted the lockdown, although she wasn't shielding, she was still very careful about not sort of going out and spending too much time around too many people. Purely just because I think it's the whole, you know, there's a lot that goes with this whole new way of living. So for my mum, just everyday life stuff can be quite tricky for her because of the stroke. It makes it so that the thought processes of things can take a little bit longer than they would have done before. When we came out of lockdown and you go into the shops, you know, you've got to remember to put your gloves on. You've got to remember to put your mask on. You've got to try and keep that 2 metre distance. You've got to try and follow the signs on the floor. As well as that, she's also having to try and do the bit about shopping, which is get her list out, look at her list. Look at what's on the shelves to get her shopping. That bit in itself was hard enough for her. Once you start adding on the whole getting around the shop without being in too much contact with other people, follow the arrows in the direction that you're supposed to go in, and deal with the face mask and the gloves. Yeah, I think it's actually put her off wanting to go out. So I can imagine that she's not the only one. There are a lot of people out there that have mobility issues, or like my mum, you know, the cognitive problems and the whole getting older. Everything is so much more trickier, you know, to try and be looking at which way round the shop you're supposed to be going whilst trying to see what it is that you're purchasing. So to be honest, even though we came out of lockdown, Mum still, she did pop out, but she would only go to sort of what I call your smaller shops. And she would go at certain times when she knew that very few people were going to be there, and she could literally be in, quickly grab her essentials and out as fast as possible, but still get out so that she's gone and got herself a breath of fresh air. So, and then obviously with lockdown 2 happening, she has been out once to get some essentials, but the weather is closing in. So yesterday we had like a true ground frost, the first one, the first like white grass, white roofs. That does not instill my mum in the want or need to leave the house or the heating or her fluffy slippers. So I've got a sneaky suspicion that anything that happens going forwards, it won't affect my mum too much, because she will not want to go outside in the freezing cold, especially when she's got to go and get on like a mobility scooter and wrap up just to go off out to the shops, because it gets a bit chilly. It's like riding a motorbike like without a helmet on, with the wind blowing in your face. If it's already sort of only a couple of degrees outside, once you've sort of got a little bit of speed up on a mobility scooter, you start going into minus sort of chill factors. And yeah, mum doesn't do cold. We don't do cold. So I have a sneaky suspicion that she will hermetize for a while now, until at least spring, when it starts to warm up a little bit, which is not bad, but she's doing okay. So thank you everyone for checking in and making sure mum is okay. She is doing exceptionally well currently, and really looking forward to Christmas. Just the thought of being able to spend some time with her family without having to worry about not getting too close to them or not cuddling them. Yeah, I mean, the guidance is for older relatives, although they're lifting the guidelines. They've advised not to do kissing and cuddling or getting too tactile or too close. But to be honest, I think for my mum, the thought of a cuddle from the kids is just something that there's no way we'd get through Christmas without her having at least one little hug with the kids, even if she held her head in the air and just went like this and hugged them. So yeah, I think she's really looking forward to doing that. What else to tell you? Whip Go. So I normally follow a Whip Go. Whip Go's gone out the window, and I won't be picking that back up this year. If I can find time to do the planning that's required for 2021, then I will probably look at doing a 2021 Whip Go, because it did hold me accountable. For those of you that don't know what Whip Go is, I will put the link down here. Jessie Marie Does Stuff started the Whip Go, and yeah, there's a whole Facebook group, and there's a load of people that now do Whip Go. All the instructions are sort of in it. I've gone through it. I think I did it. I've done it all of 2020 up until this last couple of months because of the problems. But I did explain in my video before of how it all worked. Yeah, it did help me stay accountable, but until the end of the year. So yeah, so we'll see what happens for 2021. Plans for 2021 on the stitching side, I've got to be honest, I haven't even thought about it as yet. I have an idea in my head of what I'm thinking, but I still haven't done Christmas stuff. So I've done a bit of Christmas shopping as far as online shopping, but I haven't done my Christmas cards. I haven't wrapped anything. I've got Lauren's birthday. Yeah, so normally I don't start thinking about my New Year plans until I've sort of at least done some of that stuff. So yeah, I think that might be the next video. The next video I might be able to give you an outline of what I'm thinking for next year, whether I'm planning to do anything next year or whether I'm just going to wing it. I'd like to think that I can set myself some targets or goals is what I'm thinking. So the rather large rabbit hole that I fell down. So although I haven't done much stitching, as you've seen, I did turn my hand to something different. And when I say different, I mean really different in comparison to the stitching. The stitching is fine, like I say, when I'm in my happy place. But if I can't be in my happy place and I don't have what I consider to be the downtime to concentrate, that doesn't mean that I can just sit there and do nothing. Hubby was playing PlayStation or just watching TV. That's really not my bag. I'm not a gamer, and I'm certainly not really a TV watcher. So I needed to turn my hand to something, but something that didn't require brain power, that meant that I couldn't talk whilst I was doing it, because that was the biggest problem with my stitching. I even thought about picking up some knitting and maybe trying attempting another shawl or scarf. But again, if I'm counting my stitches and he talks to me, it'll all go wrong. So I knew that that wasn't an option. Now, here in the UK, me and Mummy specifically, we have like the the Limax Christmas Village houses, the ones that light up and, you know, things move on them. I think in America they've got the, I don't know, is it Department 56 or something like that. I think you've got like another version, but we've got something called Limax. So we've got like the Limax houses. So they are like little Christmas houses. My mum has a full set of them, and I have I have quite a few, but my mum has got a lot more than me. And she had them all out last year, and she said, you know what, I'd really like to have one where it's like the little Christmas village, you know, like the actual scenery, like where it's a scene. So Kirst, I was sort of, you know, on Pinterest, Googling and whatever, and happened to fall across dioramas. That's what they're called, just so that we know. So when you see like the little houses with the villages, it's a bit like the model railway guys. They make like a miniature version, like scaled down miniature version of the model railway. Well, diorama is basically the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Mum said that she wanted one for her little Christmas houses. They're not like an available thing to purchase. You can buy plastic things and then just cover it in fake snow, but that wasn't really what we wanted. We wanted like the full terrain where it looked like it was like, if you sat and looked at it, it would look like a little village. There's the rabbit hole right there, people. Yep, I've been making dioramas. So as a child, all that gluing and sticking and paper macheing and plaster of Paris, I used to love all that. But my mum never used to let me do it because it was too messy. But now I'm a full grown ass adult, I can make as much mess as I like. So I did. I forewarned you. So I fell down this rabbit hole of, I thought, well, okay, I don't want to just go straight in and make mum one, because if it all goes Pete Tong, then she'll be very disappointed, and so will I. So mine needed to be a lot smaller. So I thought, well, I'll try one for my little houses first, see how I get on, iron all the kinks out to see if it's even something I can do before I offer to make one for her. So I made my own one first for my little houses, of which all of the lessons that I needed to learn were learned. But I did make some dioramas. So I will put some pictures in here. Maybe I'll do like a little commentation over the top of what you see. So most of the dioramas start with the polystyrene. So basically the bases are made out of foam. Then you use some sort of sculptor mould or, you know, paper mache type stuff, or plaster wraps to sort of like build it up and make all the undulations and the roads and whatever. And then you fall down the whole next section of, you know, rock faces. So you make like, you use some rock castings and make the little rocks to make sort of like the rock sides and the rocks. And then it's painting, and then you've got stuff called flock where you throw sort of, I don't know, dusty stuff all over it to make it look like it's a terrain and real. But because I fell down the rabbit hole and fell down it well and truly, you know, I decided I wanted real static grass that stood up, and trees and shrubbery, and yeah. So needless to say, I done a whole lot of gluing, sticking, plaster of Parising, painting, flocking, static grassing, just to put my Christmas houses on. So around now you should be actually seeing some of the pictures as I go through what it is that I did. it was my brother's birthday, and we was in lockdown. I had no way of going anywhere to get him anything, and he's not really anyone that needs anything, but he is rather an avid fisherman, so he loves to do fishing out like on the fishing lakes. So I thought, well, how hard can it be to do a diorama fishing lake? So that's exactly what I did. I used a cake base, created the terrain section. I used some resin and poured some resin to make it into a little river. I even went to the extent of going in the garden and nipping off some roots from my dahlias that were sitting in the greenhouse, like drying out. Dried out their roots and stuck them in the bottom of the river to make it look like it was weeds from the trees and stuff from coming from the banks. And then I put some little scale model deers and trees. I made a little bench, and then there's like a couple of fishermen doing their fishing with their rods in the water. But I had an absolute blast of making them. And my mum is super happy. My brother was super stoked. So yeah, so I did dabble in other things. So although I was not stitching, I did do other things. Creative, and it gave me that outlet. But in all of that, all the time that I was doing the dioramas, I was still missing my stitching. So you know when it's like, because they got a point through it all where I was sitting there thinking, oh, I'm losing my stitchy bug. The stitchy bug's just disappearing, it's gone. But it hadn't, because all the time that I was doing the dioramas, I was like, it's great doing this, but I really would like to sit down and just do a spot of stitching tonight. Just a little bit. But I just didn't get to it. And then by the time I did sit down and, you know, Darren wants to watch TV or he wants to talk to me, I was like, okay, I won't do stitching. But the more time went on, the more I was like, I'm really missing my stitching. I really do want to do some stitching. So I think that's the difference of, yes, I was creative and went on and done some other stuff, but not because I'd lost my stitchy bug. I still wanted to do my stitching. I still had the urge to do my stitching. It was just the timing wasn't right and the environment wasn't right and the ambience for me to do it wasn't right. Not that I'm a creature of a habit and that I'm totally set in my ways. So there you go. So you can see why I got very little stitching done. But I did turn my hand to other things. So that is October, November update. And the plan, should I dare I say a plan, the plan is to have at least one video that goes up between now and Christmas with either plans or an update, and ideally a stitch with me, because there's really, once I've only really got one more thing to do, and that is to make my Christmas cards. Most of my Christmas presents have been purchased online, which are all winging their way to me because of Black Friday yesterday. So other than a spot of wrapping, I've just got Christmas cards to do. So theoretically I should be on cue, on time. And if that is the case, that will then free me up to have a bit of stitching time where I can do some stitch with me videos. I should be able to get another video up before the end of the year with either plans or an update. So yeah. So that's me done, people. And I bored you to death now. But I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all of the warm wishes and the hope you're wells and we miss yous. So I'm back with a vengeance, hopefully. But thank you for hanging out with me. If you're new to the channel and you've liked what you've seen and I haven't bored you to death, please don't forget to hit the little subscribe button. Give me a little thumbs up to let you know you like it. And tick that notification bell and you'll get notified of any future videos that I upload. So until next time, people, thank you and bye-bye.